Welcome to Serving for Fitness. My name is Arif and today we're going to talk on foods inhibiting cancer growth. But before we move on to the foods, we'll just have a brief overview on the biology involved in cancer cells. Like we all know, our human bodies are made up of various organs. They are made up of tissues which are in turn made up of various cells. So every organ cell have a different functions and different characteristics. For example, my muscle cell will have a different characteristic and function to that of a nerve cell. But all this cell has to undergo something called as the cell division, wherein the one cell divides to form two, the two cells form four, and so on. So cell division is more predominant in birth, from birth for babies, and in adults it occurs to replace the old dead cells. So let us take a tissue with a bunch of cells. Okay. Now we'll discuss on the characteristics that differ in a normal cell to that of a cancer cell. So the first characteristic we'll talk about. A normal cell will only grow when it is stimulated to grow by an external growth factor. The growth factor is basically a protein which stimulates the growth or the division of a normal cell. Secondly, a normal cell exhibits something called as this contact inhibition. That means if the cell wall come in contact with the adjacent cell walls, it will stop to grow. Third, a normal cell undergoes apoptosis. That means the cell will age, become old, eventually die, and new cells are formed. And the fourth one is, if there is any kind of damage in the DNA in the nucleus of a cell, a normal cell will die and cease to exist. Let us now talk on cancer. Cancer is basically uncontrolled growth of cell, which happens because of mutations in your genes. Genes are basically a functional unit of our DNA, and mutation means any kind of alteration in the genetic coding of these genes. For example, if I'm writing a program where if I press the button A, a gate will open at certain speed. But if there's any kind of alteration in the program, and when I press the button A, the gate does not open or it opens very fast. These kind of changes are called mutations, and this occurs in the genes. So there are various causes of mutation occurring in the genes. It may be factors like environmental factors like overexposure to radiations, eating foods which containing harmful chemicals, and even inheritance. So this mutation in genes causes the malfunctioning of the genes. So the malfunction of genes are basically divided into three groups based on the type of gene that is affected. So the first gene I want to talk about is the proto-oncogene. So the proto-oncogene is basically responsible in a normal cell to stimulate cell division. That means this proto-oncogene produces a protein called the growth factor which stimulates the cell division. Good. But when the proto-oncogene is mutated or undergoes mutation, it produces something called as the oncogene. This oncogene accelerates the rate at which the cell divides. That means there is no regulation in the cell division, which contributes to uncontrolled growth of cells. The second gene I'm going to talk about is the tumor suppressor. The tumor suppressor is a gene which produces protein that inhibits the growth of a cell. That means in normal conditions, when your proto-oncogene synthesizes a cell division, the tumor suppressor controls the rate at which the cell divides. That is why there is a proper control in the cell division. But when the tumor suppressor gene undergoes mutation, this inhibition of the cell does not exist. That means the cell will grow in uncontrolled manner. Thirdly, there is DNA repair gene. A DNA repair gene is basically required to repair your DNA from time to time so that a DNA can replicate to maintain its chromosomes. But if there is a mutation in a DNA repair gene, your DNA cannot repair, causing the mutation to grow. An example of a DNA repair gene a mutant of a DNA repair gene is the XP, that is the xeroderma pigmentosum. In that case, a person's skin becomes very sensitive to UV light and has a high probability of getting skin cancer. So we have seen a cancer cell. A cancer cell will never follow these four characteristics. It will never depend on growth factor. It will be an independent cell which will just keep on growing, keep on growing, keep on growing. So cells keep on growing. Secondly, it does not follow contact inhibition. That means if the cancer cell comes in contact with adjacent cell, it will just try to push the cell away and starts to grow. It never grows old. That's why it never follows apoptosis. And even if there's any kind of defect in the DNA of a cancer cell, the cancer cell will still grow, spreading this damaged DNA everywhere. So, now how does a tumor or cancer cell get its oxygen and nutrients required for growth? So it needs oxygen and it needs nutrients. So a cancer cell or tumor cell exhibits something called as the angiogenesis. That means the tumor cell will produce growth factor that will build up blood vessels to this tumor cell, and these blood vessels carry the oxygen and nutrition required for its growth. So these tumor cells can be called as angiogenic tumor cells. These tumor cells can get into this blood capillaries and go to other parts of the body and spread. But not all tumor cells are angiogenic. There are non-angiogenic tumor cells which don't cross across the blood vessels and they don't spread. So when this tumor cell, they use oxygen and nutrition, they form something called as the CO2, carbon dioxide and lactic acid. So that means we can very well say that a tumor cell can survive in an acidic environment. Now we will now see the foods that we can have to inhibit all this from happening. I would like to start by a quote by Dr. Otto Warburg, who is a Nobel Prize winner. He said that no disease, including cancer, can survive in an alkaline environment. Like we earlier discussed, a tumor cell, how it produces CO2 and lactic acid to make the condition favorable for its growth, as acidic. So consuming food which are alkaline in nature, like fruits, all kind of fruits, vegetables, sprouts, natural curd, buttermilk, jaggery, honey, dried fruits and soaked nuts can inhibit the growth of cancer cells. Whereas we have sugar, salt, white flour, processed food, tin-packed food, frozen foods, aerated drinks, polished grain pulses, eggs, poultry products and meat are acidic in nature. So nowadays we consume a lot of these foods and very less of these. But there's a recommendation that we need to consume at least 6 servings of fresh vegetables, fruits or any kind of alkaline foods in a diet in order to maintain the balance in our pH. Our body also produces sodium bicarbonate, that is by the pancreas, to maintain the alkalinity in our body. So consuming sodium bicarbonate early in the morning with lemon on an empty stomach can help us in maintaining that balance in the pH. So that is all I have for this video. Please subscribe to my channel and please comment, which will encourage me to make more of such videos. Thank you.